Dark secrets revealed. A love story that haunts you forever at midnight. The clock struck midnight, and with it came a chilling silence that swallowed the small town of Willow Creek. In that deep hush, shadows danced along the cobblestone streets, whispering tales of love lost and secrets buried. Rumors swirled like the fog that crept through the alleyways, suffocating every flicker of light. They said when the moon was full, those who dared to wander alone were haunted by spectral lovers, their cries echoing the pain of heartbreak and betrayal. If you listened closely enough, you could hear them calling from the depths of the night. As Ellie stood on her porch, staring into the darkness, her heart raced. She had always felt a strange pull toward the old graveyard on the outskirts of town. Legends spoke of a forbidden romance between two souls, intertwined in life and death, their unresolved love echoing eternally. The air crackled with energy, the kind that tingled up her spine and set her teeth on edge. It wasn't just curiosity that drew her. It was a longing she couldn't explain, a craving for answers that gnawed at her insides. Her best friend Maddie had warned her. "Stay away from that place, Ellie. They say the lost souls are angry," she had said, eyes wide with worry. But fear only fueled Ellie's resolve. Night after night, she researched the stories, piecing together fragments of a love so powerful it could transcend even death. But as she dove deeper, the pieces grew darker. Each name she uncovered brought unsettling shadows to her mind, familiar faces that felt like echoes of someone she had known. Could it be? A part of her wanted to flee, to forget the strange connection she felt, but another part clung tightly, refusing to let go. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Determined to unearth the truth, Ellie decided that tonight would be different. The moonlight bathed the world in silvery splendor as she slipped out into the night, her heart a drumbeat in her chest. She needed to see that graveyard. Just as she reached the iron gate, a gust of wind whipped around her, sending shivers down her spine. A low whisper seemed to call her name, chilling her to the bone. "Ellie, come find us." Her breath hitched, and doubt began to creep in. What had she gotten herself into? Was it just the wind, or something far more sinister? As she took a hesitant step into the graveyard, the path seemed to twist and turn underfoot, leading her deeper into the dark heart of the night. Streetlight flickered behind her, and she quickly turned back to see it sputter out completely. Alone in the abyss, she sensed she was not just wandering through the tombstones but rather, stepping into a story long forgotten, begging to be told. And one wrong move could summon the ghosts of those whose love had become a desperate, haunting tale. The shadows loomed larger as Ellie ventured further into the graveyard, each tombstone appearing more menacing than the last. She swallowed hard, her heart pounding like a war drum in her chest. A soft rustle in the underbrush made her freeze. Was someone else here? Panic surged through her like icy water, flooding her veins. "Hello." Her voice cracked through the stillness, swallowed by the night. No answer came, only the whispering wind that seemed to mock her courage. She stepped deeper, drawn to a cluster of ancient graves that jutted up like jagged teeth from the earth. As she approached, one name struck her like a bolt of lightning: Elizabeth Hartman. She gasped, the name clinging to her like tendrils of mist. It was the same name she had stumbled across in her research, a name that echoed in her dreams. What had happened to Elizabeth? A chill danced across her skin, and the air thickened with tension. Just as she reached out to touch the stone, the wind howled, a guttural cry that twisted her insides. She pulled back, feeling the cold breath of despair wrap around her. This wasn't just history, it was alive, pulsing with sorrow and longing. "Elizabeth," she whispered, her heart aching for the lost soul. "What happened to you?" Suddenly, a light flickered behind her, illuminating the shadowy figures that lingered nearby. She turned, eyes wide, her pulse racing. The spectral forms of two lovers stood, their transparent bodies entwined as though caught in an eternal embrace. Their gazes were locked on her, filled with yearning and pain, as if pleading for their story to be revealed. They reached out, fingers almost touching hers, and Ellie felt an electric pull, a connection that transcended the veil between worlds. "You can help us," one of them, the woman said, her voice a haunting melody that echoed in the silence. Ellie's breath hitched. Help. What could she possibly do? Fear gripped her once more, but an inexplicable determination surged through her. "How?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The man leaned closer, shadows swirling around him like dark smoke. "Find the letter." His words trailed off, overtaken by the wind's wailing. But the urgency in his eyes was unmistakable. "Begin at the old willow, by the creek." And then they vanished. Just like that. One moment they were there, and the next, only an empty space remained, charged with emotion. Ellie stood frozen, pulse racing. She felt as if she had stepped into a dark ocean, where every wave threatened to pull her under. Her mind raced. The old willow. A million thoughts crashed together. The creek was far from here. It would take her through the heart of the town's forgotten stories. But what would she find? With a shuddering breath, she turned back toward the path that led to freedom. Each step felt heavier as doubt clouded her mind. Could she really uncover the truth that had bound these lost souls? But something, perhaps the ghostly plea, pushed her forward, into the embrace of the night. She felt the irresistibility of it all. And just as she passed the gate, a glimmer caught her eye. On the ground lay something glinting, beckoning her to approach. Was it the letter? Her stomach twisted as she knelt down, fingers trembling to uncover what the night had waited so long to reveal. As she picked it up, a sinister chill rushed through her, and she knew the danger had only just begun. What revelations awaited her beyond the inked words? Consumed by an urgent fire, Ellie prepared to confront whatever shadows lay ahead, stepping into the dark as she dared to uncover the secrets hidden beneath the surface of Willow Creek. But the moment she opened the letter, the ground trembled beneath her, and Ellie felt a presence dark and foreboding behind her, whispering tales of betrayal and love lost. The air shifted, growing thick as Ellie unfolded the letter, its brittle edges crackling like dry leaves. The chilling atmosphere surrounded her, and she felt frozen in time, the world narrowing to just her and those words. "Please don't let this be a trap," she thought, needing to believe in the chance for answers. The darkness seemed to lean in closer, its weight pushing against her chest. As her eyes grazed the delicate script, a memory flickered through her mind like a candle in a strong wind. She recalled the stories about Elizabeth, rumors of love, betrayal, and secrets that bound her to this graveyard. What if those legends were tied to this very letter? "To my dearest Elizabeth," it began. Ellie's heart quickened at the intimacy of those words. She was witness to a love that once burned bright but now lay buried beneath these stones. The letter spoke of a secret meeting, a promise made, perhaps a marriage, with Elizabeth's name inked beside a hastily drawn map leading to the willow. But as her pulse quickened, the final lines caught her breath and turned it to ice. It hinted at danger, a warning that echoed like a church bell in her mind. "Beware the river's shadow," Ellie whispered, her voice trembling. What did that even mean? Why would she need to be cautious of the creek? Before she could ponder further, movement erupted behind her. The rustling sound, earlier imperceptible, became a cacophony, and panic sparked anew in her chest. "Who's there?" she called, her voice fierce but wavering, as she spun around. The night felt alive, pulsating with energy, shadows twisting into ghostly figures just beyond her periphery. Against her better judgment, she took a step back toward the graves, instinctively seeking refuge behind the cold stone, its chill seeping into her bones. Then silence fell, eerily complete, hanging thick in the air. She could hear her own breath, loud and ragged, as if the world had paused, anticipating her next move. Ellie clutched the letter tighter, her fingers white against its worn paper. The shadows were impossibly close now, seeming to reflect her mounting dread. "Murder," a voice hissed, clear and jagged. The word sliced through her mind, sending shivers down her spine. It came from nowhere yet everywhere, an echo of centuries past, and Ellie felt a wave of despair wash over her. Had Elizabeth faced this fate? Had she truly been betrayed in love? Caught in the grip of a vision, Ellie saw fleeting images of the willow, dark and twisted, its gnarled branches reaching out like fingers. They beckoned. Go to the creek, it urged, and from somewhere deep within, a visceral instinct screamed at her to run, to uncover the truth that lay buried there. But panic and a powerful sense of foreboding collided in her heart. What if that truth was something she wasn't prepared to face? With a sudden surge of courage, she realized she had no choice. She couldn't turn back now. The path was set. The echoes of Elizabeth and her lover demanded resolution, a justice that time had denied them. Just as she was about to stride off into the unknown, a sharp tug at her sleeve stopped her. She turned to find the remnants of the ghostly lovers standing directly before her, their ethereal hands reaching out, desperation in their eyes. Find the willow now, the woman implored, voice quaking like the very earth beneath their feet. And in that moment, gripped by the intensity of the shadows around her and a vision of the willow shimmering in her memory, Ellie knew she was stepping into the heart of darkness. But what if that darkness didn't just hold answers? What if it guarded a haunting fate meant for her? As she took a deep breath, the night swallowed her whole, and the ground beneath her continued to tremble with a foreboding promise. What awaited her by the rushing creek? The answer would change everything. The branches of the willow swayed mysteriously under the moonlight as Ellie plunged into the night, her heart thrumming like a war drum. Each step toward the creek carried the weight of her ancestors' secrets, echoing the mournful cries of a lost love. The air here felt heavier, saturated with history and pain. Keep moving, she urged herself, her feet almost betraying her as they hesitated on the uneven ground. The creek bubbled ahead, a chorus of voices whispering untold stories. Would she find Elizabeth's truth there? Or would it bury her under the anguish of a forgotten past? The darkness clung to her, wrapping around her limbs like a shroud. Faint shadows danced in the corners of her vision, reminding her of the ghostly lovers. She threadbarely recalled their desperate expressions and the urgency in their voices. Find the willow now, but something about their plea gnawed at her. What if uncovering their truth drudged up more pain than she could bear? She shook her head, trying to dismiss the fear creeping into her. No time for doubts. Finally, she reached the edge of the creek. The water glimmered under the pale moon, almost inviting in its tranquility. Yet there was an undercurrent of danger lurking beneath its surface. She took a cautious step closer, squinting for the distinct silhouette of the willow tree that the letter promised. Then she noticed it, the map she'd traced in her mind. The willow stood nearby, an ominous guardian of secrets. Its gnarled branches hung low, almost grazing the water's reflective surface. Heart-pounding, she moved forward, feeling like an unwilling participant in an ancient ritual. That a sudden rustling from behind made her jump. She whipped around, eyes wild. The shadows thickened, swirling, before a figure emerged from them, shrouded in darkness. A man, his features sharp yet vague, stepped forward with a haunting familiarity. Ellie, he called, the name sliding off his tongue like honey mixed with poison. The sound sent a cold shiver down her spine, reminding her of whispered warnings. Who are you? The question came out more as a plea, driven by fear. She stepped back, her instincts screaming at her to flee. I'm someone who knows what happened, he replied, and his voice dropped to a low tremble filled with regret. What happened to Elizabeth? Why are you here? The words felt heavy, like dragging chains, pulling her toward a fate she wasn't sure she could endure. Because you have to decide, he said, stepping closer, eyes piercing into hers. To know the truth means facing the shadows of fate. Are you ready for that? Ellie's heart raced. To know the truth? The choice dangled in front of her like a ripe fruit hanging from its branch, taunting her. Could she bear the weight of what she might uncover? Did she even want to? Just then, the water behind her surged violently, shattering her focus. Ellie spun around to see the creek escaping its banks and glittering fiercely, pulling everything in it toward an unknown abyss. The shadows seemed to pulse with life, echoing with anguished cries and words of warning. Beware, the river's shadow rang in her ears, a dark reminder of the seriousness of her quest. Her gut twisted. Ellie! The figure shouted, urgency slicing through the chaos. Make your choice now. Will you dive into the past or let it pull you under? This was her moment. As the rushing water beckoned, Ellie stood at the precipice of revelation. She inhaled deep, her final breath before plunging into the unknown. What awaited her beneath the surface? And would she resurface changed forever? The chilling embrace of the night surged around her as she took a step into the creek, the world blurring into a blend of shadows and water, ready to unveil whatever sinister truths lay beneath. Would the past consume her, or could she rewrite the endings of these haunted souls? Time pressed on relentlessly, leaving the question echoing in her mind. Did she dare to find out? The plunge into the icy water was electric, a shock that surged through Ellie's body, snapping her into a different realm, one defined by swept-away sound and submerged shadows. Gasping and flailing, she fought against the current, but the water clutched at her like an eager assistant in a twisted performance. Visibility faded quickly, swallowed by the dark embrace surrounding her. It was a suffocating world. Yet she sensed movement, shapes lurking just beyond her sight. Instinctively, she kicked her legs harder, desperate to break through the surface, to breathe again, to escape whatever intentions prowled below. But then a voice, softer than a whisper yet loud enough to echo in her mind, cut through the swirling chaos. "Fear not, Ellie. We've awaited your arrival." A chill raced down her spine. She could almost feel hands reaching for her, welcoming her into their fold. That voice, she recognized it. It was Elizabeth's, beckoning her from the depths. Did she dare follow? Or would it pull her into a realm where she could never return? "Elizabeth!" she screamed, but the words dissolved into bubbles before they could escape into the void. Panic surged again, and she clawed upward, her limbs desperate for the solid world above. As bubbles rose past her, she realized the truth. She was drowning in more than just water. This was a flood of secrets, emotions, centuries of untold stories gripping her tightly. Suddenly, a gust of air swept into her lungs, and she broke through the surface with a splat, gasping under the moonlight. Wild-eyed, Ellie scanned the water. The figure was gone. Yet the echoes of lament hung in the air, ricocheting around her. "Ellie!" A different voice, now richer, more alive. "You can't run from this." She turned and spotted the man from earlier, emerging unscathed from the shadows. His face was a mask of determination, amber eyes burning with purpose. "You're in it now." You felt the pull. You heard Elizabeth's call. Her heart raced. The weight of the decision loomed over her like thunderclouds. "What do you mean?" "The river holds memories." His voice was steady, but his eyes flickered with something darker. "But you must be prepared. The truth is not what it seems. Are you ready to see? To remember?" Each word cut through her thoughts like shards of glass, prompting a kaleidoscope of emotions. The water's surface shimmered, as if waiting for her answer. She could plunge again, descend deeper into a world that teemed with buried anguish. But could she confront whatever twisted tale lay waiting beneath? "Tell me," she demanded, fierce determination hardening her stance. "What happened to us?" To her? "Follow me," he urged, extending a hand. "There are whispers in the trees, memories wrapped around the roots of this willow. You have to listen." He turned towards the edge of the creek, the willow swaying faintly, a sentinel alive with history. Fear mixed with curiosity as Ellie hesitated. What if those roots pulled her down as much as the water had? What if she unwrapped truths meant to stay buried? "I don't know," she breathed, gripping the edge of uncertainty. "Trust me," he pressed, voice thick with desperation. "This is your chance to truly understand, to unravel Elizabeth's fate. You're stronger than you know." She felt the weight of his gaze, a swirling mixture of pleading and urgency. Time seemed to stretch, each moment drawn out as she weighed her options. Finally, the urge to find closure overcame the fear, igniting a spark of bravery. "Okay," she whispered, taking a step closer to him. But just then, the creek groaned ominously. The water surged again, rising to envelop them both in a chaotic rush. The shadows recoiled before that deep blackness seeped between the roots of the willow, and light flickered out. "Ellie!" The urgency in his voice broke through the noise, but it slipped through her mind like grains of sand. And as darkness swallowed her, she realized that the real test lay not only in facing the past, but in the truth of what it meant to emerge from the depths, forever changed. What awaited her on the other side? Would she find Elizabeth? Or would she discover the tragedy that had ensnared them all? The darkness clung to Ellie like a heavy shroud, thick and damp, drowning out even her own heartbeat. She felt the unseen currents pulling her in every direction, tugging at her limbs, urging her deeper. Where was that whispered voice now, cradling her in assurance? Suddenly, a flash of light pierced the blackness, illuminating her surroundings. Shadows danced as she surfaced into a small, eerie clearing. The willow tree stood at the center, its gnarled roots extending like fingers clutching the earth. Its bark glistened with what appeared to be tears, glistening like jewels under the pale moonlight. "Welcome to the heart of the willow," the man said softly, stepping beside her. She studied his face, bathed in the light of the moon, searching for answers in the amber glow of his eyes. "What do you mean?" Her voice trembled, trembling like leaves rustling in the wind. "This is where memories intertwine, where Elizabeth's essence lingers, and where you must confront her legacy." He pointed toward the base of the trunk, where thick roots writhed as if alive, coiling and uncoiling like serpents on the hunt. What does that mean? Panic bubbled within her. Would she truly be ready to face whatever awaited her here? "The river brought you here for a reason. It's time to break free from the web of shadows that have ensnared us all." His voice faltered, a crack betraying the gravity of his words. "But know this. Some memories are suffused with pain, and others with love. They are intertwined like the branches above. You must be prepared for both." The wind howled, urging shadows to dance closer around them. Ellie felt her breath hitch, a tightening in her chest, but there was no turning back. She stepped toward the willow, reaching out to touch the bark. It pulsed under her skin, a warm heartbeat surging in resonance. "Listen closely," he urged. "Feel the memories. They will guide you. Everything you seek is wrapped in the roots below." With that, she crouched down, her fingers threading through the damp earth surrounding the trunk. As she traced the roots, she began to hear faint whispers. They called to her, voices swirling together into a haunting chorus, weaving tales of love, loss, and longing. "Help her, please," one voice pleaded, heartbreak ringing through it. She must remember, another echoed, layered over that plea. "Ellie." A familiar voice drifted to her, a fragile echo of Elizabeth. Pain tugged at her heart. "You must choose to embrace the truth. It's the only way to break the cycle." "What cycle?" she whispered, but the ground shook beneath her. The roots shifted violently, and a low moan resonated through the air. Ellie cried out, feeling a surge of power rip through her fingertips. Visions rushed into her mind, vivid images colliding. A memory of laughter skimming across water. A shadowy figure in distress, calling for help. A promise left unfulfilled sinking like a stone in her chest. "Ellie, you must decide," the man urged, desperation lacing his tone. "You can't hide from what has been buried. It's time to face the real story." A pulse of energy rippled up from the roots, igniting something deep within her. The fear mixed with resolve. She would not let her past define her. Not anymore. Her hand tightened around a root, and she felt a rush of connection. The air crackled with tension, like the moment before a storm. "Will you break the silence?" he asked, eyes wide with anticipation. As the ground quivered, Ellie grappled with the shadows of her past, ready to wrestle the truth from the depths. But just as she prepared to dig deeper, a crack of thunder boomed in the distance. The moon hid behind dark clouds, shrouding them once more. What raw truths would emerge from the depths? Would they heal the past or unravel them entirely? In the tension of that moment, she realized she was on the brink of revelation or destruction. Which would it be? The air around Ellie thickened, swirling with whispers that spiraled around her like ghostly fingers. Each breath felt like inhaling shards of glass, jagged and sharp. The ground beneath her thudded in a strange rhythm, echoing the frantic pulse of her heart. Just as she thought she was ready to grasp the truth, a jarring gust of wind ripped through the clearing, sending her hair flying and the looming shadows screeching against the boughs of the willow. "What do I do?" she cried out, her voice trembling with fear and desperation. "Trust what you feel. It's calling for you," the man shouted, gripping her shoulder with a fierce intensity, as if anchoring them both to this reality. Ellie's gaze darted back and forth, feeling the weight of unseen eyes pressing in on her. She returned her focus to the roots, twisting and writhing as though they had a life of their own. Just then, the soft whisper of Elizabeth's voice curled around her like a warm blanket. "Ellie, you must remember." Images flickered vividly in her mind's eye. A little girl's laughter, towering waves crashing on rocky shores, and a figure in the shadows familiar, yet forever cloaked in sorrow. Memories that shouldn't belong to her tugged painfully at the edges of her heart, creating a heavy knot of nostalgia and dread. The thunder rumbled again, louder this time, shaking the ground beneath her. Her fingers brushed over the earth, digging into the moist soil. "What am I supposed to remember?" she shouted, meeting the man's gaze with a fierce determination. Hope intertwined with fear, each thread tighter than the last. "You have to embrace the chaos inside. Only through it can you find clarity," he urged, his voice resolute amidst the encroaching storm. Ellie closed her eyes, breathing deep, drawing strength from the pulsating energy of the roots. The voices converged, no longer whispers but a maelstrom of emotion, piercing into her very soul. "See the love," one voice commanded, breaking through the noise that threatened to consume her. "But also the loss. All must be unveiled." As if in response to her acceptance, the ground shook violently. The roots erupted, arching dramatically around her. A whirlwind of leaves and shadows spiraled upward, dancing among the branches. She felt weightless, suspended between memories and a disintegrating reality. The willow was revealing itself. Out of the cacophony, a silhouette emerged, Elizabeth's figure, faint but unmistakable, eyes filled with longing and pain. "Ellie," she called, her voice echoing like a distant bell tolling in a graveyard. "You must break the cycle. You're stronger than this darkness." "But how?" Ellie screamed, desperation tearing at her throat. "By facing it, by making a choice." Elizabeth's form began to dissolve like smoke, and panic surged through Ellie's veins. Each pulse of the roots seemed to plead for her to act, to understand the reasons behind the haunting legacy. A choice. Each option pressed against her mind. The fear of knowing versus the pain of letting go. The love that would heal versus the love that could destroy. The roots shuddered beneath her fingers, alive with anticipation, urging her to embrace the truth. The man stepped closer, his hand still resting on her shoulder. "It's choice or consequence. Choose wisely." Suddenly, without warning, the willow's roots thrust outwards, aiming towards the shadows that flickered at the edge of the clearing. Ellie felt the ground split beneath her, a gaping maw eager to swallow the truth whole. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears, drowning out the sounds around her. With urgency pulsing through her, she knew she had to confront the very essence of her existence. As the darkness surged threateningly, Ellie raised her voice. "I will remember. I will face it all." A crack of brilliant light erupted from the willow, illuminating the soul of the nightgown that had bound her for so long. And then she saw something shifting beneath the surface, something old and menacing. The shadows began to coalesce, revealing both fearsome and familiar figures emerging from the depths of time and memory. What emerged from the darkness, Ellie realized, could change everything, and just as she braced herself for what was to come, a voice called from the beyond, chilling her to the core. "Are you ready for the truth, Ellie? It's time to uncover what lies in the dark." The answer was far too close, and she felt the weight of her past closing in. The darkness thickened around Ellie like molasses, swallowing her whole as the shadows twisted and churned. The air crackled with energy, sparking waves of raw tension that sent shivers cascading down her spine. "What is this place?" The question escaped her lips, a mere whisper battling against the tempest swirling around her. "Your memories." The man's voice cut through the chaos with the clarity of a lighthouse beam slicing through fog. "Every secret, every bond, it's all here. You cannot run from it. You must confront it." Ellie's breath hitched as the shadows began to crystallize, forming shapes that tugged at her heart. Figures distorted by grief and anguish stepped out of the blackness. She recognized them, the faces of people from long ago, voices that had faded like old photographs. But one face stood out, pulling her closer until she couldn't bear the distance anymore. Elizabeth's translucent figure shimmered just out of reach, her sorrowful eyes reflecting the depths of Ellie's confusion. "You have to face what we've lost, Ellie. You can't break free until you understand it all." A wave of dread washed over her, seeping deep into her bones. "But what if the truth is too painful?" "Pain is a gateway. It's how you'll find your strength." Elizabeth's voice quivered, but Ellie felt a surge of potential in those words. The fear still clawed at her, relentless, but she sensed a flicker of hope, a light at the end of the tunnel coated in pain. Suddenly, A violent tremor rumbled through the clearing, shaking the ground beneath them like a waking nightmare. The shadows lunged toward her, dark tendrils reaching out, snatching at her limbs, pulling her towards the suffocating folds of the past. With a forceful scream, Ellie fought back. No. I will not be chained to this anymore. The moment the words left her, the world around her paused. The shadows hesitated, the darkness recoiling slightly, as though respecting her defiance. The ground throbbed benevolently, calling her name, urging her to step forward into the chaos. Embrace it, Ellie. The man shouted, his voice like a drum echoing in a vast cave. Let it flow through you. As the shadows hesitated, Ellie inhaled deeply, drawing together every flicker of her past, her laughter, fear, love, and loss. She felt a rush of warmth surge within her, intertwining with the cold darkness surrounding her. I choose to remember, she declared, her voice stronger, more resolute. I choose to heal. The shadows flickered as light poured through her heart, illuminating the tangled roots of her pain. Images spiraled around her, flashing rapidly. Laughter shared with friends, tender moments with her parents, the shaky foundation of heartbreak and betrayal. The beauty mixed with the sorrow, each threading its way through her like the roots of the willow itself. Then suddenly she saw it. A horrifying revelation churned in her stomach. She was not only a victim of loss. She was part of this cycle. Shadows of betrayal traced their way to her lineage, and she held the power to break it. I can't carry this burden anymore. Then let it go. Elizabeth cried, anguish etched across her ethereal face. Free yourself, Ellie, before it's too late. With the weight of generations pressing down upon her, Ellie stepped forward, plunging into the darkness surrounding her, fully intent on confronting the ghosts of her past. They swirled around her like furious wind, a kaleidoscope of emotions rattling her bones. As she dove into the heart of the chaos, a blinding pulse of light exploded, illuminating the clearing and transforming it from a graveyard of memories into a luminous path. It felt like a rebirth, a purging of the old, making space for what could be. But just as she began to glimpse the visage of hope through the storm, a flash of shadow darted forward, a dark entity that felt alarmingly familiar, eyes burning with resentment. Did you really think you could escape me? It hissed, sending chills racing down her spine. The world around her began to swirl once more, throwing her back into the abyss. The darkness was far from over. Ellie. The man's voice strangled with urgency. You must face it now. There's no turning back. She tightened her grip on the flickering memories, preparing for a confrontation that could shatter or save her. The chilling reminder hung heavy in the air. The past was not done with her yet. What lay in wait had the power to unravel everything she thought she knew. Would she summon the courage to challenge it? Or would it consume her entirely? Ellie's heart raced as the shadows closed in like a noose. The dark entity, its flickering form brimming with malice, stepped forward, a mirror of everything that haunted her. It wore her fears like armor, each taunt a dagger aimed at her resolve. You think you've grown strong? You're still the same scared girl from years ago. No. Ellie shouted, the sound escaping her in a desperate burst. You don't own me anymore. The figure laughed, a chilling sound that echoed in the void around them. You think you can escape the truth? Every lie I fed you, every weakness you hid behind, they built this cage. Ellie's memories swirled violently, merging with the shadows, each moment a reminder of failures and vulnerabilities she wished to forget. She desperately grappled with the fragments of pain that tried to snare her. But beneath it all, a flicker of defiance flared. Your words won't hold me. She took a step toward the entity, feeling the warmth of her memories brightening the edges of her vision. With newfound clarity, Ellie reached deep within herself and summoned the voices of those she loved and lost. She could hear her mother's gentle encouragement, her father's laughter, the sweet promises of friendship that echoed through her life. I remember, she shouted, and I embrace everything. I am the light and the dark. The dark entity's laughter faltered, its form flickering as Ellie's determination pierced through its shadows. You think a few memories can protect you? It hissed, the anger in its voice quaking with fear now. I am the darkness. I am the weight of your history. Ellie felt the pulse of her heart synchronize with the surge of light radiating from her core. Then let me show you what I've discovered. As if her words had wielded a sword against compassion's greatest foe. A wave of brilliance erupted from within her, illuminating the darkness itself. The shadows recoiled, swirling to escape the command of her strength, and Ellie pressed forward, weaving through the shadows that whipped around her. Face it. You are not merely the keeper of my past. She felt the energy surge through her, commanding the darkness to retreat. You are the one who will be left behind. The dark entity shrieked, flailing as light engulfed it, burning away the threads of fear it had spun around her for so long. But in that moment of triumph, a chilling reality set in. The shadows didn't just fade away. They melded together, forming a new shape, something larger and more sinister that Ellie's breath caught in her throat. This wasn't just a remnant of her past. This was a manifestation of every unresolved grief, every heartache, and every betrayal. What are you? She cried, her voice trembling as she faced the monstrous apparition growing before her. I am the culmination of all darkness within you, your rage, your sorrow, your despair, it thundered, its voice ricocheting off the walls of her mind. You have rejected me, but you cannot escape me. I will always be part of you. Terror washed over her, a cold wave that threatened to drown her hope. But the man's voice echoed back to her through the haze. You can't erase your past, but you can redefine it. With fierce resolve, Ellie clutched onto her memories once more, the weight of love, the bonds that once held her together, and stepped forward, ready to confront the storm. You don't control me. What you were, I'll transform into strength. Just as her declaration reached its crescendo, the figure lunged, claws of shadows stretching to snare her. Ellie's heart thundered against her ribcage, shadowy tendrils twisting around her legs, pulling her down. But she wouldn't let that happen. Not now. Not ever. As she gritted her teeth, she felt a surge of energy, the warmth and love wrapping around her like a shield. The ground trembled beneath her as she made one last desperate push, defying the darkness with everything she had. Would she be able to harness the strength from her memories to break free of the shadow's grip? Or would they drag her down into a pit of despair, shutting her away from the very light she fought to reclaim? A deafening silence followed, and in that infinite pause, Ellie braced herself for the moment that could shatter her resolve or set her free once and for all. Just as the shadows lunged, pulling Ellie into a vortex, everything stopped. For a heartbeat, the world held its breath, suspended in a moment of chaos and fear. The swirling darkness pulsated around her, threatening to consume her whole. But in that moment of absolute stillness, something inside her shifted, igniting dormant strength buried deep within her. She could feel it, a blazing warmth growing in her core, radiating against the freezing grip of those shadows. I choose to redefine my past, she shouted, voice echoing defiance through the storm around her. The dark entity recoiled, visibly shaken by her unwavering spirit. Those twisted shadows that represented every pain and betrayal she bore began to splinter and swirl around her, but they no longer held any power. The warmth inside Ellie exploded outward, filling the space with brilliant light that pierced through the darkness. Every memory matters, the love, the laughter, the tears, they all brought me here, she exclaimed as light spread from her heart, intertwining with the shadows that clung to her, threading them together in a dance of resolution, accepting both joy and sorrow. Determination surged within her, a fierce wave roaring like ocean tides. The darkness struggled, transforming back into the faces of those she loved, memories cargoing up from within like treasures rising from the deep. You will not control who I am, she declared, summoning the strength from every moment that shaped her. Piece by piece, the darkness began to unravel, revealing the heart of despair beneath a broken, whispering echo of her most profound fears. But instead of shrinking away, Ellie reached out, embracing them with compassion rather than disgust. Each face, each shadowed remnant began to lighten, as if touched by the sun's first rays. Then through the shadows Elizabeth's figure appeared, more luminous than ever. You see it now, don't you? She spoke, her voice a soothing balm. We are not defined by what we lose, but by what we love fiercely. This is the truth that breaks the cycle. Fractured images floated around them. Laughter shared by a river, a forged promise between lovers, even heartache that shaped them into who they became. They were shrouded in connection, wrapping around Ellie like a warm embrace. You're not just freeing yourself. You're freeing us all from the shadows, Elizabeth encouraged, her spirit intertwining with the light enveloping Ellie. With every ounce of courage, Ellie cast aside fear, embracing every part of her past. She stood tall, glowing fiercely against the encroaching shadows. The entity before her shrieked, its form slowly disintegrating as light struggled against darkness. "Witness your own power," the man shouted, stepping out from the illuminating haze of her memories. "You are stronger than you know." And with one final surge, Ellie intertwined her own essence with the vision of her past, merging pain with love, fear with hope. "We will rise together, never to be alone again." As those words echoed in the air, light washed over all of them, illuminating the shadows into a beautiful constellation of memories, an eternal legacy they honored instead of feared. The energy burst through the landscape, blasting the darkness away until nothing remained but pure brilliance. Ellie's spirit soared in triumph as the shadows fell, disintegrating into stardust not lost, but transformed. As silence enveloped her once more, Ellie looked around. The clearing was serene now, the willow glowing radiantly, and whispers of new beginnings cascaded around her. Elizabeth stood beside her, shimmering like a guardian spirit. "You did it. You have freed us, Ellie," she said, her voice filled with love. But before Ellie could respond, a rush flooded her heart. The shadows were gone, yet she felt an insatiable pull toward the future. "What comes next?" she murmured, gazing at the shimmering landscape that felt limitless. "You carry our stories with you now," Elizabeth replied, her image starting to fade like morning mist. "Remember our love. Embrace it. Live your life unbound." As Ellie stepped back into the moonlit world, she felt the flicker of new dreams igniting within. Freedom swallowed her whole, choking on joy instead of sorrow, ringing promises rather than heartaches. She could feel Willow Creek around her, pulsing with life, its heart now woven with the love of those who once haunted it. Ellie had reclaimed her story, and in doing so, was finally freed. As she walked toward the horizon, another dawn rising in Willow Creek, she carried with her the echoes of the past but pressed onward toward a vibrant future. And now, just like Ellie's journey, your journey is unfolding. You need to subscribe now to follow the adventures that await. Smash that like button now to help keep the stories alive in the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your thoughts about the ending, and let us know what you think comes next for Ellie. Don't wait even one more second to share this with 5 friends who love a good tale. This is the moment to show your support.